Welcome to the FangledCast, brought to you by Fangled Technologies, where we help you convert every person your company touches into a voracious advocate for your brand. Welcome back to the FangledCast. Today I'm with my friend Curt Anderson, who's written a book on B2B. And you know what? Rather than me give you the intro, how about you introduce yourself, Curt?
Andrew, what an honor, privilege. Boy, I've been listening to a bunch of your podcasts. You do an amazing, amazing job. So thank you, honor, privilege, Curt Anderson. So I'm an e-commerce consultant for manufacturers, and just thrilled to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, the reason I asked Curt on, we've talked quite a bit about when we know that a customer raises their hand. In other words, how does a suspect or a prospect out there become a lead? And when you have that lead, how do you get that lead to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in doing business? And Curt did a really interesting work with a company in the wire harness industry, building a configurator. And rather than, again, me explaining what it is, Curt, what is a configurator in a website?
Sure. You know, what the process is, you and I are passionate about helping manufacturers, and so many manufacturers, the challenge is, it's that online identity crisis of you land on their website and it's very broad, very general. We cut metal, we bend steel, we 3D print something. And it's just, they try to be everything to everybody and you end up being nothing to no one.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the configurator does is it really forces you to niche down. They always say, I've talked about it a lot, the riches are in niches. And instead of trying to be everything to everybody, I bend metal for this industry, or kind of that 80-20 rule. What's the 20% that's generating your 80%? Let's stay in our strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody lands on your website, is there an opportunity to engage, just like land on a website, a free mortgage builder or some other websites that have like little free tools,
Mm-hmm.
putting out a free configurator to build some of your products. I don't have to call you. There's no commitment. There's no email, but you're creating a little bit of an emotional engagement with that potential lead by just no expectation, giving them a service.
So let's give a few examples. Like, imagine you're shopping for new windows for your house.
Yep.
You go into the window website and put in the measurement, and then select, it's a casement window, it's a double hung window. And then you could say, I want e-glass, and you go through all the different features that make up a window. And at the end, it gives you a rough estimate of what that is. So in the case of your customer, it was a product that most people don't know even exists, the grounding strap for multi-use, which is basically a way to make sure that people don't get shocked and that the device is electrically grounded. Can you explain a little bit about the thought process behind it, how it came to be, and what the result was of building it?
Sure, absolutely. And so this particular company, custom manufacturer, again, very broad, trying to be everything to everybody from they had no online presence and just really forced them. We talk a lot about going through that persona exercise. Who's that persona? Digging deep in manufacturing. It's frequently an engineer or a new product buyer. And so they were very strong as a wire harness manufacturer. And so we started building content and we started grabbing like first page rankings on some of these keywords. So we created this configurator to build a wire harness product. A Boeing, auto industry, all sort. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's an infinite number of configurations for that wire harness assembly. So an API where they could pull in information from a vendor, it's called Mouser, a huge, multi-billion-dollar company. And it was very helpful, and it helped us attract leads where they're like, boy, I could build my own wire harness, or here's a drawing to complement it. Here's what we want to do. The grounding strap that you're referring to, again, multi-billion-dollar industry. Everything that draws a current needs to be grounded. Otherwise, you're going to look like me, not pretty, right? And so we're like, this was a case where the company, the name is Falconer Electronics, a great company, has been founded by entrepreneur in 1985. And they were selling thousands and thousands of ground straps every month to one customer. And they had the skill set, they had the machinery, the equipment, raw material, they had everything in place to scale that proprietary process so many custom manufacturers possessed that proprietary process, but they feel left out of the e-commerce party because they don't have that finished good or proprietary
Yeah.
product.
Let me interrupt one. I've got a
Yep.
question about that. So
Yep.
they had a process for making these ground straps with multiple connectors, multiple different wires, a
Yep.
whole variety of configurations. But they also had the ability to make as few as one special, or was that a big problem for them to be able? Was it? It's almost like not a high speed manufacturing, but a custom job shop where everything was unique.
Yeah, great question. So talking specifically on that ground strap, and again, like think planes, trains, automobiles, your appliances, everything needs to be grounded, everything. And so they had everything in place. They just didn't have the marketing. They were, we kid around about being the best kept secret. They
Hmm.
were the best kept secret, and it just wasn't in their wheelhouse. Wasn't and I know it sounds kind of almost elementary. It just wasn't in their wheelhouse to scale it. So it was very scalable. If I put a different people need a different length, a different width, a different configuration. Now that was this particular product. You're using an example on Windows. It could be making a pizza. It could be building out an insurance policy. It could be a multitude of different things that a
Sure.
caterer. Here's my options to have for your menu for your event. So it could be a multitude of different things. So for this particular product, again, it was super. It was like making a T-shirt. Hey,
Hmm.
what length do you want? What width do you want? What configuration do you want? How
Yeah.
many do you want? And within 60 seconds, you're creating your own product.
Okay, but many people. I love when people make up numbers. 95% of the people out there make up the percentage 95. But there's a
Well,
very high. I've heard this number from 80 to 90, and I don't know who did
yeah,
the research, but uh, a very high percentage of people who go on a company's website make it all the way to the inquiry page, the contact me page. It
hmm
may even start to fill it out, but never hit send.
hmm
So one of the things that a configurator does is gives
yeah,
one more opportunity in that customer experience for a customer to raise their hand and say, I'm here and I want more information.
hmm
So, many websites, and I've talked about this in other podcasts. If folks want to go back to the one with Eric Dickman about how to
yeah,
handle leads that come out of a configurator, it's an interesting conversation. But, basically most websites have a contact me, download a brochure, and
yep,
now with a configurator, you're taking that customer further down that journey. So not only are they raising their hand saying contact me, or they're just getting a brochure to know a little bit more, not ready to be contacted. In this case, they're giving you step 5 along that customer journey of purchase,
right,
that not only are they interested, and in the case of this ground strap company, it goes to the next level of you're actually giving them a price, a available date, and the
yep,
ability to buy. So it's a fantastic opportunity for folks in business, whether it's configurable in multiple configurations or just choosing a color is a configurator.
absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up that Eric Dickman interview that you did. Boy, that was phenomenal.
Oh, thank
So
you.
it was great for me, being an e-commerce guy. I'm big on, like, let's bring in that lead. Big gap or weak spot is on the other side. So listen to you and Eric talk about the buyer's journey and the steps, man. It was just so educational. So I encourage anybody listening to go back and catch that one. And I agree with you 100% because what you're giving information with no expectation. It's,
Hmm.
I'm here, I have your back. I'm just, you're an engineer, you're a new product buyer. Maybe you're creating a prototype, and man, I just need I don't have a week to wait for you to turn around a quote. I don't want to call you. I don't want to email you. I can just hit submit. My only investment is I have to give you my email to get, I have to collect your email to get that information back to you. And
Hmm.
that's the investment. And so now you're vested.
Yep.
So now you've made that investment, that emotional connection. We've gone a lot deeper to get past, there's no pleasantries and so on and so forth. So it's just such a powerful lead source.
An interesting part of the story, and I'm asking this question as a leading question. I already know the answer.
Yeah.
But tell me, have in a configurator on a website where you never know who's actually on your website,
Yeah.
were there some pretty amazing sales that happened because
Yes. That's Phenomenal question. So, so again, this is a custom manufacturer. Now, a couple of their biggest clients, like they provide they also do power strips, and they sell to like Walmart and Lowe's. So they sell to some Fortune and Target. So they have Fortune 500 customers, but again, 35 employees. So as now, again, let me just throw in my marketing hat. So by niching down, instead of trying to be so broad, I do CNC, I do 3D printing. Because we niche down, we've been able to capture not only first page rankings on Google, we have #1 rankings on a lot of our keywords. And again, even like these grounding straps, we're going against like Amazon, we're going against AutoZone, O'Reilly Auto Parts, all the major, car parts stores.
Sure.
So, but because we attack that keyword aggressively, we're able to come up on search, and it's inexpensive again, because we niche down. When now people are landing, we've had Johnson & Johnson, Amazon Robotics. We're engaged right now with Virgin Hyperloop, which was, one of Richard Branson's extremely exciting projects, high-speed train. And so we're now helping them with their ground straps.
So
So
what are the chances with, for example, Virgin, the Hyperloop, correct?
yep.
What are the chances that this company would have reached out to them to try to sell them ground straps? Interesting.
Zero, we were the best kept secret. No, there's no way on the planet somebody would have found us. But again, that because we niched down, we put all of our energy into one process, that we were crushing it. Again, everything was in place to scale it. Everything came together.
Yep.
And so, and again, Boeing, Halliburton. So, some major Fortune 500 companies have come calling. And again, the quantities might be small if they're doing prototypes, but then you get that one customer who's like, hey, I need 50,000 pieces a year. And those are exciting opportunities.
And here's the question that raises for me that's really the benefit of this. So this is a company that has a broad line of products in wire harness, and they've done a configurator on that one item that now has taken a lead that they didn't even know existed, and brought them in.
Right.
And I got to wonder, what else do they sell that now that they've got a contact that actually bought from them?
Right.
What else? You've heard my theory about well, not my theory, but my favorite theory, the camel's nose under the tent. So when you get the camel's nose under the tent, what happens next? The whole camel follows. So you've now got a customer. They raised their hand.
Right.
They configured their product. They bought one item from your book.
Right.
What does that mean for future sales?
Right. And so let me segue in that. So my book, and I do a bunch of webinars and stuff. So I talk about a 3-pronged approach going into like how can that custom manufacturer, that job shop, they feel left out of that e-commerce party. It's a process of how to get into the e-commerce game because of the configurator, because of Boeing, Halliburton, all these companies start knocking on their door. They're like, hey, why don't we kick the tires and put ourselves on Amazon? If you go on Amazon, you do a search for ground straps, they have 4 out of the top 10 organic listings. We've never spent a penny on advertising. We have the coveted Amazon's choice, and they're now doing tens of thousands of dollars just on Amazon.
That's amazing.
So then they put themselves on Zorro, on DigiKey, on Walmart. So again, what they're trying to do is they're really trying to own that supply chain of that particular product. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Are they ever going to own it? No, but they're just relentlessly trying to stay in their strike zone and give everything they've got. And again, it's just so scalable. It was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, and the power of it beyond all of that is their brand is attached to every bit that they sell from people who've had a great customer experience, who all of the things that create that advocacy that Fangled always talks about, the core of our business. And if you're already, you've been looking for ground straps and you've talked to 50, 60 different guys trying to find it, and you went on a website, you were able to easily configure it, get a great price, get great delivery, buy it, have it delivered on time, it works, it's what was promised. There's so much more benefit on the long game, because that really is just the camel's nose.
That is,
it's a big nose.
I love you. I tell you, dude, you have the best analogies, folks. I tell you, kudos to you for launching this podcast, man. I'm hooked. I was binge watching. I saw like Khan and Dr. Ilya and the coaching. Was it Berta? Great. So what a great podcast that you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks.
but with what you're saying is just so true, and because you can put all your time, your energy, your resources into that one thing, and then like you're saying with the camel's nose, then like, okay, what can we do next? So like they do a great job with power strips. They're one of the only power strip manufacturers left in the United States. With the ground strap situation you're talking about, again, I kid around about like when I do these webinars, pretend that you're our persona. You're a new buyer. You just got out of grad school at University of Washington. You're working for Boeing, and your superior boss says, hey, you have 30 things that you need to purchase today. Ready, go. And you do a search for ground straps. Well, now because we niche down, you can easily find us. So now we're not the best kept secret. Boom, here we are. On that landing page, we're telling you this takes 60 seconds or less. Like, man, are you kidding me? Like, how many of us have had to wait hours, days, or weeks for a quote? You go through that process, you're done. It comes in, and when they get their email, it says, and I'm not trying to do a promotional for Falconer. It's just these are ideas for you and the listener in your business. When they receive that email, that customer can click, because how many of your listeners are looking for a ground strap? So I'm not trying to be promotional.
There's two guys. Yeah.
Two. Okay.
Bob and Ralph, they're both.
Tell them to call me.
No, they're going to go on your website. You got a configurator.
Yeah, that's right. So that's right. Why would they call me? Go to the configurator. But when they receive that email, there's a button, press buy now. That buyer at Boeing, at Virgin Hyperloop, they pull out their credit card, they hit buy, they are done. They can move on to the 29 other things that they need to buy. Now, Falcon Electronics, the cool thing for them, what a competitive advantage. You can't find this in China, Mexico. This is a product that doesn't exist on the planet. You just created it yourself.
Yep.
It's competitively priced. Could you find it cheaper somewhere else? Maybe, but it doesn't exist. And Falcon Electronics is paid not only before they ship the product, they're paid before they even manufacture the product. Yeah. Great for cash flow. So the multitude of benefits are just.
Tell you a story about a very frustrating situation from my career years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago. I worked with a company in the packaging industry that made a tool that had about 100 parts. And it would need to be repaired. And you'd have an exploded view in the catalog of the tool. And then you'd have a listing of all the parts, part 1A, 1B, and you're constantly looking and then trying to find it on there. This thing. Well, I found a guy who could, and this is before, early internet. Take the exploded drawing and mark each part so that if you clicked on it, it would put one in the cart.
Oh yeah.
So this software existed, and the CEO of the company said, no, that software. We've got an employee who spent all day on the phone with people trying to figure out what parts they needed. It was self-serve. And his argument was, well, they're going to go through and create a cart, but then they're still going to have to make a PO because they've got those administrative issues inside. And he never bought into the software. A competitor who sold the same tool put it on his website, and our part sales disappeared. Why? Because nobody wants to spend 30 minutes on the phone with a guy trying to go through and figure out the parts.
Right.
You've automated it. And because they started getting their parts for the tool, the main core business, which was the strapping materials, that stuff, also went.
Right.
So you provide that customer experience that's so powerful that you end up taking much more than just, like I said, the nose under the tent. You get the whole camel.
That's right. And it's our dear friend, our mutual friend, Allison DeFord, does a great job talking about how do you make it all about them? So often our websites, especially as manufacturers, we make it about us. And what the configurator does, it makes it all about them. And again, strongly encourage you to listen to your interview with Eric. You guys I learned so much about how then once you get that party started, how, so the person that doesn't take out the credit card, they want that engagement. How do you nurture that relationship? So that's so important.
Yeah. If you consider everyone your company touches, whether it's sales, the guy who answers the phone, the woman who packs the boxes and ships them, anyone in your company who has contact with someone on the outside should have your brand story in mind and convert those people into advocates. Because at the end of the day, promoting to one is expensive. Promoting to one who tells 100, all of a sudden isn't quite such a costly expense and can really benefit and grow your business.
And I think I've listened to a bunch of your podcasts. I think it was you and Eric. You're talking about even like, boy, if it's that $2 item, how much do I put into that sale for that $2 item? And that was the example that you just gave. And that's what, this ground strap is a $2, $3, $4 item. And that's, the goal is just creating those relationships. And what's great, like that brand story, like our mutual friend, Damon, we're always talking about the brand story, Exit Your Way. And then I had a great conversation last night. I'm talking to this gentleman and I'm like, man, you've got to get on my friend's podcast. He goes, who? I go, his name's Andrew. And it was Greg Mishu. And he goes, the digital twin. And he goes, yeah, I'm already doing it.
Yeah. I recorded him about a week ago.
Yeah.
He's great.
He does an amazing job. So again, when that podcast comes out, you have to listen to Greg Mishu, and kudos to you. I can't wait to hear the conversation with you and Greg. That's just going to be just pure gold. Love it.
Yeah, there's some other ones coming up that'll be interesting to you. And a lot of them are business oriented. A lot of them are subjects that don't normally get talked about.
Yeah, you have a very unique perspective, and I'm so thrilled. We've developed a really nice friendship this year. Every time I have my pen ready. Every time you and I are talking, and I'm taking notes. You're killing me with jokes, and so this is just a privilege. So thank you.
And I've learned quite a bit from you too. So it's been a great. I'm glad to know you.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I always ask, is there something I should have asked you about configurators that I didn't, that the audience should know about?
I think we covered a fair amount, and and you're such a huge proponent of it. I think it's great. I think the key is just having that open mind. You and I know a lot of manufacturers, and again, we're all guilty of this. The resistance that won't work for us. You don't understand our industry, but just coming in with that open mind, it is just such a powerful tool. So continue doing. You're such an advocate for branding and manufacturing. Kudos to you, Andrew, and just keep these conversations going. And we're just here. You're here to help these manufacturers just do better with their branding and their marketing.
Well, thanks so much. So tell me, Curt, if someone wanted to buy your book, what would they look for?
It's a great
and
stuff.
How would they find it?
Stuffer. And Andrew, did you know it's an absolute bestseller in the Anderson family? So I think my mom bought a couple, my dad bought one or two. So
well, it's keeping this table from wobbling pretty well.
That's perfect. So it's on Amazon. The title of the book is Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. The reason I titled it, every manufacturer I would meet or work with, I'm like, hey, tell me about your business. They're like, oh, we're the best kept secret. We're the best kept secret. I'm like, man, I don't know if that's a great marketing strategy. And so now with 2020, trade shows are gone and sales reps are grounded. We have to stop being the best kept secret. So, I'm active on LinkedIn. You can find the book on Amazon. So, and again, honored and thrilled to be here and love to help anybody out there. So,
and I'll be putting all that contact information out there so folks can find you and find your book.
And I love what you do. I love what you do with your podcast, folks. If this is your first one, you do such a nice touch of adding like little elements throughout the podcast. And I'm admiring your tech savviness because I'm trying to catch up to you.
I'm just trying to keep people from falling asleep listening to the podcast.
Wow. Dude, when you're on the show, man, there's no sleeping whatsoever. So you're doing awesome.
Well, thanks so much. I really do appreciate you coming out. And for folks at home or at the office or out on your yacht, consider sharing, liking, send a fax to a friend, let them know that you enjoy the FangledCast. And we look forward to seeing you in future FangledCasts. Thanks so much. Brought to you by Fangled Technologies, where we help you convert every person your company touches into a voracious advocate for your brand.